Hey, it's Penny with Enlightened Living, and I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the power of our breath. Before I get started, let's take a really deep breath together. So inhale, deepest breath you've had all day in through the nose. Pause at the top of the breath, holding it in. As you exhale, exhale through your mouth with a sigh. Beautiful. How did that feel? So our breath is this beautiful vehicle that brings us directly into the present moment. And it's something that's happened all of our lives. Since our very first moment outside of our mother's womb, we have been breathing. And most of those breaths have not been conscious. But when we bring our conscious awareness to our breath, we can change it, we can adapt our breath, we can hold it, which is really great so that we can go underwater. And so it's this automatic body function that also has the ability to be controlled. And our breath is intricately connected with our emotions. So anytime we're feeling an emotion very strongly, you notice that your breath changes. So if you've ever been frightened or startled, what do? You take your breath in suddenly and hold, right? If you have ever cried inconsolably, what happens with your breath? You tend to hold it, right? Like you're trying to control it because it feels like you can't control the emotion if you don't control your breath, or at least that's been my experience of it. If I'm trying to prevent myself from fully releasing, then I hold my breath and it stops the flow of the emotion. Not a good thing. It's better to have the flow of the emotion. This is something I've learned over time. But definitely when I was younger, holding that emotion in and holding the breath to do it. When you feel just an enormous amount of love or gratefulness for someone, what do? It's just, you take this full deep inhale. It just like expands your heart center. The same way we have the phrase, you take my breath away. So there's all these intricacies where the emotions are associated with the breath. The last one I want to mention is if we're really scared. If you have panic or anxiety or fear, what happens with the breath? Anybody that has had a panic attack before, it feels like you cannot breathe. A lot of people express it as weights on the chest and the heart racing, and you're trying to catch your breath and you just can't. So what I'd like to talk about is how pranayama, our breath work, these exercises that we do, help us regulate our emotions. And by regulate, I don't mean stifle. I mean support our emotions and allow us to process them. So they're a two-way street. So, if emotions are connected to our breath, that communication goes both ways. So when we practice to work with our breath, to control our breath, it allows us to have a better access to our emotions and the processes of the mind, the way that the mind is processing the discomfort. Breath work in yoga is referred to as pranayama, and it gives us access, like a free, open interstate where there are no speed limits, to life force energy. It's like the Autobahn. And by utilizing our breath in this way, we create an energy-rich environment within our body. This not only fortifies our energetic field, so allowing the energetic vibration that goes past this physical body or seemingly physical solid body, it allows that energetic field to strengthen, and it increases or heightens the vibration of that energetic field. But it also improves our physical body's ability to carry oxygen and to utilize oxygen. And of course, these breath practices strengthen our respiratory system. So they actually strengthen our physical lungs and improve their ability to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide and other respiratory processes. And lastly, these practices help to upregulate our nervous system. So it allows our nervous system to go from to carry more prana. And the way I like to describe it, it goes from that little power cord that goes to your phone when you charge it, and we're upregulating it to the big cables that feed power into our house. So we're strengthening and upregulating our nervous system so that it can carry a higher vibration and function at a higher frequency. So right now our species is experiencing a pandemic. There's a virus that has spread throughout the world that is attacking the respiratory system, which just means that these practices are even more valuable and relevant now at these times. As we increase the prana, or the energy within our bodies, we're creating an energy-rich environment that supports a healthy immune system. And as I already said, it's strengthening the physical respiratory system too, allowing for clearance of any debris, any secretions out of the lungs. And the other key component that is really relevant right now is that it helps us to condition the mind so that when we become uncomfortable, we can self-regulate our feelings, thoughts, and emotions and not be reactive to that feeling of discomfort, but rather be able to respond from an awake and aware state. Some of the practices that I'll share with you include breath holds, so internal retentions and also external retentions. And it's important to notice the nature of the mind when you're holding your breath. We are so much more capable than our mind will allow us to believe. And so your mind is going to begin to feel uncomfortable and maybe get in that space of a little bit of panicky and begin to start to get you to react to it. It may start pushing all the buttons, sounding the alarm. And my encouragement to you is to notice that, observe it, observe the sensations of discomfort, of alarm, and see if you can ease yourself past that. Just go a little bit further than your mind believes that you can, and prove to yourself this extreme capacity you have to transcend. And transcendence happens in the moment. It doesn't happen in some future time. It happens in the now. And so these practices really awaken that consciousness, that state of consciousness within us, and they give us the opportunity to push past our own perceived limitations. And so that if there comes a point in some future moment where our lungs are being impacted physically by a virus and we're finding it hard to breathe, then we can self-regulate and observe those sensations and not allow our mind to get carried away down the fear spiral. So I hope that you'll join me. There's many practices here. Check them all out. Thank you so much for your time. We're all in this together.